My name is Kel Pults. I'm the Chief Clinical Officer and Vice President of Government Strategy at MediQuant.
Excellent. Thanks, Kel. Thanks for stopping by. Tell me a little bit more about MediQuant.
Well, MediQuant has been in business for about 25 years. We're a pioneer in this space, so we were the first company to do active archiving. We take old data, legacy systems, so when you really have a customer that's going to go to a new EHR, we take all of their old legacy systems and we put it into DataArc, which is our platform. That's our main flagship product, though we have other services, but that is our main flagship service. And active archiving means that they can work down their AR in our system, so their interfaces in and out. We run day in for our customers. On the clinical side, record corrections, point of care, so providers can access the system from their new EHR to look at that. And DataArc, actually, the data in there is part of their legal medical records, so they can do release of information, auto-assist purge. It's fully functional so that they can shut down those legacy systems, reduce their footprint overall, which also reduces risk. There's a lot of things around security going on right now.
Yeah.
And, the fewer access points that people have to get into those systems, the better. So this really, really reduces not only the risk for customers in that, but it also reduces their overall costs significantly to have, all those systems shut down, decommission them, hardware, software, and then move it to a single platform archive, which is what we have.
Yeah, got you. Well, yeah, definitely the sentiment I've heard this week, I guess, with everything happening and being in healthcare and how important it is to keep data secure. The last thing you'd want is to have disparate bits of information everywhere. That the more buckets you have, the more leaky buckets you could have, I guess. So you mentioned at the start there, working down AR and also as in like accounts receivable. So I'm guessing some financial information, but also then the patient information too. So it sounds like this clinical admin.
Yeah, it's really enterprise. I mean, if you think about an enterprise at any healthcare organization, it's clinical, financial, ERP. You've got a lot of miscellaneous systems that are going to be shut down in there that people are paying support on. We found some of them have hundreds of systems that need to be shut down, literally hundreds. And so they do this over a period of time. They do it in a phased process typically. We have some long-standing relationships with several customers that are even over 10 years. And some of that happens because there's a lot of merger and acquisition activity going on out there and here. And so when that happens, then they get a whole other list of applications that they need to retire.
Yeah. And this concept of active archiving, you touched on it a little bit more, but what does that mean in practice for the person that's, pulling files down or out or whichever direction the files go?
Part of being active is you need to be able to support the functionality that was necessary in the old legacy system. So part of that specifically relates to regulatory requirements. So, for example, you want to make sure, that it's HIPAA compliant, 21st Century Cures Act around information blocking, patient access to the records, release of information. You need to have all of those things in an active archive, making record corrections. That's a HIPAA requirement. So those, and then, of course, there's a big focus right now on interoperability.
Yeah.
So, HHS, ONC, the Sequoia group is really working on, Sequoia project is working closely with ONC. But this interoperability using the FHIR is a big change to the, what healthcare is, being able to really send those records. And eventually, patients need to send the record from their patient portal. That's really the goal, is that they have a lot more autonomy over their own records. We've been fortunate the last couple of years to be working on FHIR with the government as Defense Health Agency projects. And so that meets the regulatory requirements. So USCDI 3 and then USCDI 4 and 5 are, targets for this year. But yeah, it's being able to maintain the regulatory compliance at a federal, state, and local level are necessary for anybody that's going to do an active archive. You just have to be able to support your customers. They're required. This is part of the legal record. So really, you have to take the stance that although there's not specific language right now for your active archive vendor to do it, for example, we've chosen to do that. We made the decision in 2019 that we were going to support our customers.
Yeah, I haven't really thought about how, I guess, any archived information in healthcare globally, you've kind of outlined all of the regulatory requirements. You need to hold on to a lot of data for a long time. But the fact that different stakeholders in the ecosystem will want to access that different bits of the data at different times. So the need to have it connect with new systems that are implemented, or in the event of organizations coming together, or just the continually changing landscape, it's one that I typically, when my mind goes to archiving, it's like, well, the files go there, but if I ever needed anything, well, good luck, because it's going to be difficult to find.
Right.
But then increasingly, I imagine it's more and more of a requirement to be able to access this information when you need it.
Exactly, and that's exactly really what active archiving is. I mean, it's the usability of the data when you need it. And, I gave a couple use cases of the data at the point of care and then release of information. But if you think about the amount of data that people are moving out of a main system or gets replaced, there's secondary and tertiary uses of the data. So research, analytics, you find new best practices. There's a goldmine sitting in legacy data. That's why pharmaceutical companies, insurance companies, healthcare, large healthcare systems, they want to mine that data for improvement in patient care. Ultimately, for everybody, for all of us, whether it's the hospital system, whether it's us, your main point of focus is the patient.
Yeah.
So, for us, that's why it's vigorous validation things that go on, because that there's a patient at the end. They may look at this data to help make a decision. It'll improve care for patients. So the data that moves to the archive has got to be right.
Yeah,
it's got to be right. And so we have put, vigorous, hundreds and hundreds of scripts we've invested in building our IP library because of the importance of making sure that the data is correct. It's, and that it's usable.
Yeah.
And you really hit on that. The usability of it is the big piece when you have an active archive. Somebody doesn't have to request a query because those people that knew that legacy system are likely gone.
Yes.
And their focus is the new EHR.
Yeah.
So instead of them spending the time trying to figure out that legacy system, put in the active archive with standard platform.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you've touched on this a little bit already, but I think about from my own experience with integrations and migrations of different clinical systems, it would be lovely if every system had the same fields that just neatly matched to each other, but a lot of hospital settings have different workflows and nuances, and I know just migrating or integrating from one old system to another, it can often not have the information that's come across just doesn't have the same kind of rigor because it's a different system. And while some information's there, it might just all be this blob of stuff there. You're doing this on a much grander scale than I've ever experienced, and you're doing it across multiple systems. But I would think that then this taking that standardized approach and utilizing FHIR, that's got to get a little bit of the way there to helping you have this information that is readable. Like, how do you go about this process of standardizing such disparate information that might come across to make it usable, which you've mentioned is so important?
Right. So most companies, whether it's some of the big vendors that people are going to a new EHR, for the exact reason that you just said, they don't want to bring all of that dirty data into their environment. So they typically have a small data set. They'll do some labs, some blood banks, and provider notes for a short period of time that they can then spend some time, and they'll map maybe 3 years or 2 years or even 1 year, depending on what they want to do. But 100% of the data then goes into the archive. So yes, we've got a lot under our belt. That's one thing we're known for, is being able to handle the complexity of exactly what you're talking about, bringing all those disparate into a common data model. It's been a lot of years. Like I said, this year will be 25 years.
Wow.
And so, I mean, that's sort of what your specialty ends up being. But I love being part of the company that is known for that too. Yeah. There's a complex situation, and there's a lot of systems, and you need to get them into a common data model, and somebody's going to know how to map that. Honestly, it's us. Yeah. I've been with MediQuant a little over 10 years, so I've seen a lot of growth.
In that journey, yeah.
Yeah.
That's exciting. And I guess then there's we're in an environment where there's a lot of exciting things in the future as well, a lot of forward-facing discussions here at HIMSS. What can we look forward to seeing from MediQuant over the next 6, 12, 24?
Well, let's just start with some of the regulatory stuff. Obviously, anything that's required, we're all over it. We've got a health regulatory committee internally that we're monitoring that all the time. And then we work closely with our product team to make sure that those are always on our roadmap. We, also working with the government side, we get a little bit of insight on how they are handling things and they're doing things. And our customers have been wonderful. A lot of the bigger customers, they've really gotten on board with understanding that they've got to do regulatory. We go in to advise on some of that stuff. When do they want to start it? But the interoperability piece, I think, is going to be between now. I mean, there's a lot of buzzwords out there right now, right? Fire, interoperability, AI, machine learning.
Sure.
You probably heard those out there.
Summed it up pretty well.
Exactly. But those things, I think every technology company has to adopt, and we're no exception to that.